The grand conclave of the Zidonian ascendancy hummed with suppressed energy. Light refracted through the crystalline architecture, casting long, distorted shadows across the assembled representatives. Every sense receptor of Counselor Xyler thrummed with a mixture of dread and morbid fascination. Before them, shimmering in holographic projection, lay the schematics of the vessel, or more accurately, the fragmented remains of what had once been a vessel. A Zidonian warship, lost decades ago near the galactic rim, now salvaged by humans. The silence in the chamber stretched, punctuated only by the quiet whirring of life support systems. Xyler could feel the weight of 1,000 gazes, each a subtle probe assessing his reaction. As the Counselor of Strategic Futures, he was expected to provide answers, predictions. But regarding humanity, all calculations proved unstable. "The scans are verified," Grand Artificer Thrax finally intoned, his voice resonating with a deep, guttural timbre. "The vessel is, without question, the unbowed flagship of the 7th Armada, lost with all hands during the Verge incursion." A ripple of unease passed through the conclave. The unbowed was not merely a warship, it was a symbol, a monument to Zidonian might. To think of it defiled and resurrected by these humans was an unbearable affront. "Its systems are modified," Thrax continued, his multifaceted eyes flickering with data streams. "Human engineering, crudely implemented by our standards, yet functional, disturbingly so." Counselor Lyra, her bioluminescent patterns shifting with agitation, spoke next. "Functional. The unbowed was a vessel of unsurpassed tactical superiority. What could these primitives possibly hope to achieve by tampering with such advanced technology?" Xyler exhaled slowly, carefully calibrating his response. "Perhaps," he began, "they do not fully grasp what they possess. Perhaps they see only salvage, scrap to be repurposed. Their understanding of physics of energy dynamics remains rudimentary." He hoped his voice conveyed conviction, even as doubt gnawed at his core. The humans, in their brief but explosive expansion across the galactic arm, had defied every prediction, every expectation. To underestimate them now would be a fatal error. "Rudimentary?" Counselor Vorak scoffed, his chitinous mandibles clicking. "They breach the light barrier, they manipulate gravitational fields, they have already assimilated several lesser species into their federation. Is this your definition of rudimentary, Xyler?" Vorak's words hung in the air, sharp and accusatory. Xyler held his gaze, refusing to flinch. "I merely suggest caution, Vorak. We have seen their ingenuity, but ingenuity does not equate to understanding. They may wield powerful tools, but do they truly comprehend the forces they command?" The debate continued, a cacophony of fear, suspicion, and thinly veiled aggression. Some argued for immediate intervention, a preemptive strike to reclaim the unbowed and eradicate the human threat. Others, more cautious, advocated for observation, a careful study of human capabilities and intentions. Xyler listened, absorbing every nuance, searching for a thread of certainty in the chaotic tapestry of opinions. He recalled the initial reports. Humanity's rapid technological leaps, their uncanny ability to adapt and overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Their strange, almost paradoxical blend of aggression and compassion. They offered aid to species on the brink of collapse, yet they defended their territory with a ferocity that bordered on fanaticism. They were an enigma, a species that defied categorization. The image of the unbowed flickered again in the holographic projection. A broken warship, a symbol of Zidonian pride, now in the hands of these unpredictable humans. It was more than a salvage operation, it was a challenge. A gauntlet thrown down before the ascendancy. Xyler knew, with a chilling certainty, that the fate of the Zidonian Empire might well hinge on how they responded to this provocation. The debate raged on, but Xyler's mind was already racing, calculating, anticipating the moves and countermoves in the complex game that was about to unfold. Deep within the Sol system, orbiting a pale blue planet, a small fleet of human vessels maneuvered with practiced precision. At the heart of the formation, cradled in a massive construction dock, lay the object of their collective endeavor, the refitted Zidonian warship. Admiral Elena Ramirez stood on the observation deck of the ISS Churchill, her gaze fixed on the colossal vessel. It was a Frankensteinian creation, a patchwork of alien technology and human ingenuity. The Zidonians, in their arrogance, had dismissed humanity as primitive, incapable of mastering their advanced technology. They were wrong. "Systems check complete, Admiral," Commander Chen reported, his voice crisp and professional. Primary weapons online, shield matrix at full capacity, warp drive calibrated and ready. Ramirez nodded, her expression betraying none of the apprehension she felt. The Zidonian technology was formidable, far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. But it was also damaged, incomplete, and humanity had spent years dissecting it, understanding its principles, and adapting it to their own needs. Initiate final diagnostics, Ramirez ordered. I want every system running at optimal efficiency before we jump. The Churchill hummed with activity as technicians worked tirelessly, monitoring and adjusting the warship's complex systems. The fate of humanity, perhaps even the galaxy, might well depend on their efforts. Ramirez thought back to the day the Unbowed had been discovered. A derelict vessel drifting in the void, its hull breached and its systems crippled. Most had dismissed it as irreparable, a lost cause. But a small team of engineers, driven by curiosity and an insatiable thirst for knowledge, had seen potential. They had seen a challenge. They had spent years poring over the alien schematics, deciphering the complex energy flows and reverse engineering the advanced weaponry. It was a monumental task, fraught with peril. Many had died in the process, victims of unexpected energy surges or malfunctioning systems. But they had persevered, driven by a belief in human ingenuity and a determination to unlock the secrets of the Zidonian technology. Ramirez knew the risks. The Zidonians were a powerful and expansionist empire. They would not take kindly to humanity's appropriation of their technology. But humanity had no choice. They were caught in a galactic crossfire, threatened by forces beyond their comprehension. They needed every advantage they could get. Admiral Chen announced, "Diagnostics complete, all systems green. We are ready to jump on your mark." Ramirez took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. "Prepare for warp jump," she ordered. "Destination, designated coordinates. May God have mercy on us all." The Churchill and its accompanying vessels surged forward, their warp drives engaging with a blinding flash of energy. The refitted Zidonian warship followed, its massive hull shimmering as it tore through the fabric of spacetime. Humanity was about to enter a new chapter in its history, a chapter written in the language of alien technology and interstellar conflict. On the Zidonian homeworld, a wave of alarm pulsed through the strategic command center. Sensors detected a sudden spike in energy readings near the galactic rim, followed by the unmistakable signature of a warp jump. Grand Strategist Zorgan watched the data streams with growing concern. "Identify the source of the anomaly," he barked, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Technicians scrambled to comply, their fingers flying across holographic consoles. The results came back moments later, displayed on the central view screen. Zorgan's multifaceted eyes narrowed as he studied the data. "It's the human vessel," a technician stammered, his voice laced with disbelief. "The one they salvaged from the Unbowed. It has initiated a warp jump, destination unknown." Zorgan felt a surge of anger, quickly followed by a cold wave of apprehension. The humans were bolder than he had anticipated. To not only tamper with Zidonian technology, but to use it against them, it was an act of brazen defiance. "Track their trajectory," Zorgan ordered. "Alert the fleet, prepare for immediate engagement." The Zidonian Empire was not accustomed to being challenged. They had crushed countless rebellions, conquered entire galaxies. They would not tolerate this insolence from a species that barely knew its place in the cosmic order. As the human vessel hurtled through hyperspace, Ramirez addressed the crew of the Churchill. Her image flickered on screens throughout the ship, her voice calm and reassuring. "We are about to enter uncharted territory," she said. "Our mission is simple, to gather intelligence and assess the threat. We do not seek conflict, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves if necessary." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. "We are the vanguard of humanity. We carry the hopes and dreams of our people with us. Let us show the galaxy what we are capable of." The crew responded with a chorus of affirmations, their voices filled with determination and pride. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, united by a common purpose and a shared belief in the resilience of the human spirit. As the human fleet emerged from hyperspace, they were greeted by a sight that sent a chill down their spines. Before them lay a vast nebula, a swirling cloud of cosmic dust and gas, illuminated by the dying light of a red giant star. And within the nebula, lurking in the shadows, were the remnants of a battlefield. Shattered warships, their hulls torn open and their systems destroyed, drifted aimlessly through the void. Debris fields stretched for light years, a testament to a conflict of unimaginable scale. The air crackled with residual energy, a ghostly echo of the battles that had raged here long ago. "What is this place?" Chen whispered, his voice filled with awe and dread. "This is the graveyard of the ancients," Ramirez replied, her voice somber. "A place where civilizations rose and fell, where empires clashed and crumbled, a place where the fate of the galaxy was decided. According to ancient texts, this nebula was the site of the final battle between the Zidonians and a long-lost civilization known only as the Architects. The Architects were a species of immense power and technological prowess, capable of manipulating space-time and harnessing energies beyond human comprehension. They had built colossal megastructures, seeded entire planets with life, and created weapons of unimaginable destruction. But they had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only whispers and legends. Ramirez had a theory, one she shared with very few. What if the Architects hadn't vanished? What if they had simply retreated, biding their time, waiting for an opportunity to return? And what if the Zidonians were not the conquerors they claimed to be, but merely scavengers, picking through the ruins of a fallen empire? "Sensors are picking up a faint energy signature," Chen announced. "It's coming from one of the derelict warships." Ramirez's eyes widened. "Can you identify the vessel?" Chen worked feverishly at his console. It's Zidonian, a cruiser-class warship, heavily damaged but still functional." "Bring us closer," Ramirez ordered. "I want a full scan of that vessel." As the Churchill approached the derelict warship, they detected a faint distress signal. It was weak and intermittent, but it was undeniably there. "Someone is still alive on that ship," Chen said, his voice filled with disbelief. Ramirez felt a surge of hope, mingled with a sense of unease. Who could have survived for so long in this desolate place? And why were they sending a distress signal now after all these years? "Prepare a boarding party," Ramirez ordered. "I want to know who is on that ship and what they know about the Architects." A small team of Marines, armed with energy weapons and encased in protective armor, boarded a shuttle and set off towards the derelict Zidonian warship. As they approached the vessel, they could see the extent of the damage. The hull was riddled with holes, the armor was melted and scorched, and the internal structure was twisted and deformed. The shuttle docked with a makeshift airlock on the warship's hull. The Marines cautiously opened the hatch and stepped inside, their weapons raised and their senses on high alert. The interior of the warship was a scene of utter devastation. Corridors were collapsed, wires dangled from the ceiling, and pools of viscous fluid coated the floor. The air was thick with the stench of decay and the metallic tang of blood. The Marines moved slowly, carefully clearing each room and corridor. They found no signs of life, only the skeletal remains of Zidonian crew members, their bodies frozen in grotesque poses. Finally, they reached the warship's bridge. The room was dark and silent, illuminated only by the flickering light of a damaged console. And in the center of the bridge, slumped in the captain's chair, was a lone Zidonian. He was ancient, his chitinous armor cracked and faded, his multifaceted eyes clouded with age. He was barely alive, his breathing shallow and ragged. The Marines approached him cautiously, their weapons still raised. "Identify yourself," their leader demanded. The Zidonian slowly raised his head, his gaze focusing on the Marines with surprising clarity. "I am Captain Thrax," he rasped, "the last survivor of the Unbroken." The Marines exchanged glances, surprised by the Zidonian's coherent speech. "The Unbroken?" their leader asked. "That warship was lost decades ago." "Time has little meaning in this place," Thrax replied. "I have been waiting for a long time." "Waiting for what?" the Marine leader asked. Thrax smiled, a chillingly sinister expression. "Waiting for you," he said. "Waiting for someone to carry my message to the galaxy." He paused, his breathing becoming more labored. "The Architects are not gone," he whispered. "They are merely sleeping, and they will awaken soon." Thrax then revealed that the warship, the Unbowed, had been part of a secret fleet, tasked with containing a dark secret from the ancient war with the Architects. The weapon that destroyed them, and the trap they left behind. The Zidonians had foolishly believed they had won that war, but they had simply triggered a dormant defense mechanism. The Architects had seeded the galaxy with a failsafe. a weapon of unimaginable power designed to eradicate any civilization that reached a certain level of technological advancement. And humanity, in its rapid ascent, was about to trigger that weapon. Ramirez listened to Thrax's story with growing horror. The graveyard of the ancients was not merely a battlefield, it was a prison designed to contain a weapon of mass extinction, and humanity, by stumbling upon this place, had unwittingly unlocked the door. "What can we do?" Ramirez asked, her voice filled with desperation. "How can we stop this weapon from activating?" Thrax shook his head weakly. "There is only one way," he said. "You must find the key to disabling the weapon, to breaking the cycle of destruction." "The key?" Ramirez asked. "What is the key?" Thrax closed his eyes, his breathing becoming more shallow. "The key is hidden within the ruins of the architect homeworld," he whispered. "A world lost to time, shrouded in mystery. You must find it before it is too late." With his final words, Captain Thrax succumbed to his injuries and died. The last survivor of the Unbroken, the last witness to the horrors of the ancient war, was gone. Ramirez stared at Thrax's lifeless body, her mind racing. The architects were not merely a legend, they were a threat that could wipe out all life in the galaxy, and humanity was the key to unleashing that threat. "Prepare for warp jump," Ramirez ordered. "Destination, the coordinates provided by Captain Thrax. We are going to the architect homeworld." The human fleet surged forward, their warp drives engaging with a renewed sense of urgency. They were embarking on a mission of utmost importance, a mission to save not only humanity but the entire galaxy from annihilation. On the Zidonian homeworld, Grand Strategist Zorgan watched the human fleet disappear into hyperspace. He had been monitoring their movements closely, trying to decipher their intentions. "Where are they going?" he wondered aloud. "What are they searching for?" He felt a growing sense of unease. The humans were acting strangely, deviating from their expected course. They were venturing into the unknown, driven by a purpose that Zorgan could not comprehend. He ordered a full-scale investigation, tasking his top analysts with deciphering the human fleet's destination. The results came back hours later, and they were chilling. "The humans are heading towards the coordinates of the architect homeworld," an analyst reported. "A world that has been lost for millennia." Zorgan's multifaceted eyes widened in disbelief. "Why would they go there?" he asked. "What do they hope to find?" The analyst shook his head. "We do not know, Grand Strategist, but it is clear that they are searching for something of great importance." Zorgan felt a cold dread creeping into his heart. The architects were a taboo subject in Zidonian society, a forbidden chapter in their history. To think that the humans were now seeking to uncover the secrets of this lost civilization, it was a terrifying prospect. "Prepare the fleet," Zorgan ordered. "We are going to intercept the humans. We cannot allow them to reach the architect homeworld. The fate of the galaxy may depend on it." As the human fleet approached the architect homeworld, they were met with a scene of breathtaking desolation. The planet was a barren wasteland, its surface scarred by ancient cataclysms. The atmosphere was thin and toxic, and the landscape was littered with the ruins of colossal structures. "This is it," Ramirez said, her voice filled with awe and trepidation. "The homeworld of the architects, a graveyard of dreams." The fleet deployed a network of sensors, scanning the planet's surface for any signs of activity. They soon discovered a massive underground complex buried deep beneath the ruins. "We've found it," Chen announced. "The architect installation. It's heavily shielded, but we can penetrate the defenses." Ramirez ordered a team of scientists and engineers to prepare for an expedition to the underground complex. They were equipped with specialized equipment designed to withstand the planet's harsh environment and to decipher the secrets of the architect technology. As the expedition team descended into the underground complex, they were greeted by a scene of unimaginable grandeur. The complex was vast and labyrinthine, filled with towering chambers, intricate corridors, and bizarre artifacts. The walls were covered in strange symbols and glyphs, a language that defied human comprehension. The team moved cautiously, their senses on high alert. They knew that they were entering a place of immense power, a place where the fate of the galaxy could be decided. As they ventured deeper into the complex, they discovered a massive chamber at its heart. In the center of the chamber stood a colossal structure, a device of unimaginable complexity and power. "What is that thing?" Chen whispered, his voice filled with awe and fear. "I don't know," Ramirez replied, "but I have a feeling that this is the key we've been searching for." The device pulsed with energy, its surface shimmering with light. The air crackled with electricity, and the ground vibrated with a deep, resonant hum. Suddenly, the device activated, unleashing a wave of energy that swept through the complex. The walls began to tremble, the ground began to shake, and the air filled with a deafening roar. "What's happening?" Chen shouted. "What's going on?" "I don't know," Ramirez yelled back. "But we have to stop it. We have to find a way to shut it down." The team scrambled to find a way to deactivate the device, but it was no use. The architect technology was far beyond their understanding, and they could not find any controls or switches that would stop the energy surge. Just when all hope seemed lost, Ramirez noticed a small symbol etched into the base of the device. It was a symbol that she recognized from the ancient texts, a symbol that represented the architect's philosophy of balance and harmony. "I think I know what to do," Ramirez said. "We have to resonate with the device. We have to find a way to align our minds with its energy flow." She closed her eyes and focused her mind, trying to connect with the device's energy signature. She imagined the symbol of balance and harmony, visualizing its energy flowing through her body. Slowly, she began to feel a connection to the device. She could sense its power, its intelligence, its purpose. She realized that the device was not a weapon of destruction, but a tool of creation. A tool designed to maintain the balance of the galaxy, to ensure that no civilization rose too high and threatened the stability of the cosmic order. But the device was malfunctioning, its energy flow disrupted. It was no longer a tool of creation, but a weapon of mass extinction. Ramirez knew what she had to do. She had to repair the device, to restore its original function. She had to find a way to rebalance its energy flow. She reached out and touched the device, her hand glowing with energy. She closed her eyes and focused her mind, pouring all of her knowledge, her experience, her humanity into the device. Slowly, the device began to respond. Its energy flow stabilized, its light dimmed, and its hum softened. The tremors in the complex subsided, and the air grew still. Ramirez opened her eyes and looked at the device. It was no longer a threat, but a tool that could be used to shape the future of the galaxy. Just then, the Zidonian fleet arrived. They had tracked the human fleet to the architect homeworld, and they were ready to ichete yeri anyone who stood in their way. Grand Strategist Zorgan watched as the human fleet emerged from hyperspace, his multifaceted eyes filled with fury. "Attack!" he ordered. "Destroy them all." The Zidonian warships opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons that tore through the human fleet. The human vessels returned fire, but they were outmatched by the Zidonian technology. The battle raged on, the sky filled with explosions and energy beams. The architect homeworld shook beneath the force of the conflict. Ramirez knew that they could not win. The Zidonian fleet was too powerful, their technology too advanced. But she refused to surrender. She had come too far, faced too many challenges to give up now. She turned to her crew and said, "We may not be able to defeat them, but we can show them what we are made of. We can show them the true meaning of humanity." She ordered her fleet to focus their fire on Zorgan's flagship, the Imperator. The human vessels unleashed a concentrated barrage of energy weapons, targeting the Imperator's shields and armor. The Imperator's shields flickered and failed, its armor buckled and cracked. The human weapons tore through the Zidonian warship, causing massive explosions and fires. Zorgan watched in horror as his flagship was ripped apart. He could not believe that the humans, a species he had considered to be primitive and insignificant, could inflict such damage on his mighty warship. Just as the Imperator was about to explode, Zorgan activated his escape pod and ejected from the warship. He watched as the Imperator detonated, its fiery remains scattering across the sky. The human fleet, battered but unbowed, turned its attention to the remaining Zidonian warships. They fought with a ferocity and determination that surprised even themselves. The Zidonian fleet, demoralized by the loss of their flagship, began to falter. They could not understand why the humans were fighting so hard, why they were willing to sacrifice everything for a cause that seemed so hopeless. As the battle reached its climax, Ramirez had an idea. She ordered her fleet to withdraw, to lure the Zidonian warships closer to the Architect installation. The Zidonian fleet, eager to finish off the humans, followed them towards the underground complex. They did not realize that they were falling into a trap. As the Zidonian warships approached the Architect installation, Ramirez activated the device. The device unleashed a wave of energy that enveloped the Zidonian fleet. The Zidonian warships were paralyzed, their systems frozen, their weapons disabled. They were at the mercy of the Architect's technology. Ramirez contacted Zorgan, who was drifting in his escape pod, watching the battle unfold. "It's over, Zorgan," she said. "You cannot win, the Architects have spoken." Zorgan stared at Ramirez, his multifaceted eyes filled with disbelief and fear. He realized that the humans were not merely fighting for their own survival, but for the survival of the entire galaxy. They had unlocked the secrets of the Architects and harnessed their power. "What have you done?" Zorgan asked, his voice trembling. "What have you unleashed?" "I have restored the balance," Ramirez replied. "I have shown you the true meaning of humanity." She then used the Architect device to send a message to the Zidonian Empire, a message of peace and understanding. She explained the nature of the Architect's technology, its purpose, and its potential. She urged the Zidonians to abandon their expansionist ways and to embrace a new era of cooperation and harmony. The Zidonian Empire, stunned by the message, was forced to reconsider its policies. The Architect's technology was too powerful to ignore, its potential too great to squander. After much deliberation, the Zidonian Empire agreed to a ceasefire. They sent ambassadors to the Architect homeworld to negotiate a peace treaty with humanity. The treaty was signed, marking the end of the Zidonian-human war. It was the beginning of a new era of cooperation and understanding between the two species. Humanity had saved the galaxy from destruction. They had proven their worth, their intelligence, and their humanity. They had earned their place among the stars. Years later, Ramirez stood on the observation deck of a newly constructed space station, overlooking the Architect homeworld. The planet was no longer a barren wasteland, but a thriving oasis, teeming with life. The Architect installation had been transformed into a center of learning and research, a place where scientists and engineers from across the galaxy could come together to study the secrets of the Architect's technology. The galaxy was at peace, united by a common purpose and a shared vision of the future. Humanity had played a crucial role in bringing about this new era. Their courage, their ingenuity, and their compassion had inspired countless species to overcome their differences and work together. Ramirez smiled, knowing that the future was bright. The Architects had left behind a broken warship, but humanity had transformed it into a Doombringer of peace.